I feel like being positive to start this podcast. There's so much negativity, so much damn negativity out there in the world.
Is Tom Jones joining us, Mr. Spring-Loaded for negativity?
Well, that's what I was thinking about. It feels like we've been doing a podcast with Tom Jones, which we did for a year, and he's occasional guest. But I don't know. Lately, I've been taking on his personality, and I'm not even sure why. So I'm going to begin with some positivity. How about your boy, Junior Caminero, named to the All-Star team? Yeah, baby, so well-deserved. What a season he's had. Bit of a snub to begin with, and that's because Alex Bregman of the Red Sox cannot go, I guess, based on some injury or something like that. So now you have 3 All-Stars from your Tampa Bay Rays. And
I think Junior should turn it down. You didn't pick me the first time? No, thank you.
Well, here's the thing, and this is all that matters to me. Great for Junior. He essentially is a rookie, but he's not. He has too much time in service from last year when they basically brought him up from like AA practically. But here's all I care about. Today or tomorrow, I want to hear that he's in the home run derby. That's all I care about, man. This guy to me would be like sensational in that contest. He's got the swag. He's got the bat speed. He can hit it out to all fields. His batting practices are epic. And he's got, the flair for the moment. I think he's a young guy who's not going to stand up there, get tired or worried that he's going to mess up his swing. I think he's perfect for this contest. They have to get him in.
I would love to see it. And you know what? He's top 10 in home runs in baseball. So there's no
He's got the credentials.
There.
Yeah, he's got the credentials.
He's got the second fastest swing in baseball.
Right.
Behind O'Neill Cruz, who just was announced he's in the home run derby. So
yeah. Man, somehow, is that asking too much? First he's an all-star, now we need him in the home run derby, but he's had a hell of a year. And I'll tell you, and this is true, he has not really learned how to hit at this level. Like, he's doing so much of this sort of on his all-natural, bat-to-ball instincts and of course the speed of the swing and just his power to all fields and all of that. When he understands and really becomes kind of a student of how pitchers are trying to work him, when he gets a little more patient, because I see him going up there, man, it's great that he's ready to hit from the first pitch, but sometimes it's not great that he's ready to hit from the first pitch, because I think the pitchers are now using his aggressiveness against him, Like, they know he can't wait to just launch. He gets up there and he's ready to hit 2 home runs every time he's up. And consequently, he's getting himself out a lot just because I don't think he's patient enough to, work the count, get it in his favor, and then really look for something to drive. When he gets there, though, instead of hitting so many balls on the ground like he does, and that's why he leads the majors in double plays by a lot, man, this guy, I can't imagine how good he's going to be. Seriously. I mean, he's just a hell of a hitter, and he's got such unbelievable power. He hits a lot of balls on the ground. And when he starts, getting his pitch and able to drive more, it's going to be something.
Yeah, and hitting it on the ground is what they're trying to avoid. I mean, that's what they've been working with him on,
right,
which is why he's leading the majors and on pace to set a record for most grounded into double plays in a season. And while that's bad and it's gotten them out of some rallies, I mean, guys in the past that have led the league in that category are Hall of Famers and guys that, I mean, that's sometimes what happens with a power hitter.
Sure.
Is they get fooled and they roll over on one and
absolutely
double play. And he's not the fastest guy in the world.
Right.
As most power hitters aren't. So
he also hits the ball so hard. Like, there's nothing better for a double play than a ball that's creamed to you on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, if you're playing the infield and some guy just laces one and one hops it or short hops it to you on a line drive, the guy's not out of the box. You know what I mean? By the time it's in your glove. So you got all the time in the world to double them up. It's hard to beat the relay throw if you're constantly hitting BBs at people, And a lot of his double plays have been that. They've been hard hit balls, but just right at people on the ground. So that's the other reason. I obviously, you look at that list and you see guys in Cooperstown, so you're not that concerned about it. But what it also means is that for a guy with his power, I don't think he strikes out as much as a lot of guys do. He makes a lot of contact. Now, some of it's not his best efforts, but still, he's still having a hell of a year despite the double plays, despite being a young kid that's just still trying to figure it out. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's fun to see young stars in this game. I think that's what the game needs, really. However, all right, we'll go to the negative side. We'll go to the dark side for a minute. Look, they're not scoring a lot of runs on this road trip. They've scored 3 in this series against some really good pitching from Detroit. By the way, I learned that it's Detroit if you're from Detroit and not Detroit, as people who are not from Detroit say.
No, it's Detroit.
It's Detroit, yes. I've only recently learned that. I always said Detroit,
It's like
but I
Louisville.
have heard people say Detroit.
It's like Louisville. It's not Louisville or Louisville.
Yeah,
It's
it's
Louisville.
Yeah. So you're tipping, you're telling everybody in Michigan and other places that if you say Detroit, you have never been to Detroit.
Now they do refer to it as the D.
The
but
D,
it's
yeah,
not.
but that's the letter D, right?
Exactly,
Not the sound of D. But anyway, but I digress. So what was I talking about? So listen, they're not scoring a lot of runs, and that's the previous series they scored enough to win. They had 2 walk-offs, could have been 3. They managed to win 1 game against the Twins, and they've scored 3 runs in 2 games against Detroit. However, the bullpen just continues to just get lit up, and I'm telling you, when they look at the All-Star break and before the trade deadline, and whatever things they may consider, you have got, I think, to address that bullpen. You have to address it because this club is too good, and the starting pitching's really good. These guys are going out there and giving them quality starts almost every single outing, and you just can't have that. And they can say, well, they're in a slump, and Kevin Cash continues to say, no, we still have faith. I mean, what can he say? They're his guys, right? But we still have faith in these guys, and so on and so forth. But honest to goodness, it's not going well. Okay, just take Edwin Uceta, who was good last year, right? He gave up only 2 home runs in 41 and 2/3 innings last season. Okay, that's a 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. 0.4, not even half a home run. He's now given up 9 homers in 39 innings this season. That's 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. That's a titanic leap, right? That's not. I mean, somebody should do an investigation on that. It's hard to turn that sour that fast. He's just been awful, and guys are making not just contact, but like loud contact every time they bring him in. So until they can get him straightened out and some of the others, they may have to go the trade route. This club is too good. The starting pitching's too good. The offense has shown that it's capable of scoring. Now, when you take Brandon Lau out of the lineup, that doesn't help you, and he's been nicked up. Ha-Seong Kim just came back in. They back off a couple days, nursing his calf strain, so he's just starting to get going. But it's too good of a club at this point in the season with a very bunched up AL East to not improve yourself in the one area I think that they definitely are lacking.
I think, look, they could use another bat at some point, although where you put it. And
can always use another bat, sure.
Yeah, but at this point, relief pitch, they really need the All-Star break to come. Like
they're tired. You're worn. You can tell they're worn out. Yeah,
I think that bullpen just needs 4 days off, and none of them are in the All-Star game.
Probably
4 days off, just get away mentally, if nothing else.
Sure.
When they've given, look, the Rays are always built around pitching and defense, and when you've given up runs out of the bullpen every game in the month of July,
yeah,
that's not Rays like. What is it? 46 runs in the last 16 games that the bullpen's given up.
But that's the thing. It's 16 games. It's not the last 3 or 4. I mean, fatigue is there for everybody. Somebody mentioned it at the end of Kevin Cash's interview tonight after this game, the second game too in Detroit, and Cash could not have been more dismissive of that question. And I think the question needed to be asked about, oh, you guys, before the All-Star break, guys kind of tired. Listen, you sign up for 162, and if you're lucky, you'll be on the major league roster, for all of them, whether you start, you play, or not, come off the bench. So every team has to go through this. And it's granted, like the Rays schedule is a real thing. Like it's a real living, breathing thing. They played an inordinate amount of games at home the first half, and now that we're into July, they're playing a ton of games on the road. So that's not inconsequential, but it's a result of their stadium, and it's what baseball and them decided to do. So you got to live with it. But this notion that they of course they're tired, and maybe more so than other teams, especially on this road trip. But like at the end of the day, man, you're a baseball player. Like that's it's everybody needs a break right about now. What are you going to say about the three guys that are going to the All-Star game? Is Brandon Lau and Jonathan Aranda and Junior Caminero now going to have an excuse when they come back from the All-Star break? Well, I didn't get any time off. I had to go to the All-Star game. Like nobody's going to care about that. They don't get any rest. So I think it's more true to this team now just because of their circumstance and because of the way the schedule is sort of punitive right now. It's probably more true than others. But you're all going to end up playing the same amount of games on the road and at home. It's just how you cut them up. So
no question about it. But and you talk about in the NFL when teams could use a bye and that bye or like this team just, and I still think part of this is there hasn't been the turnover on the roster this year. And I don't mean turnover getting rid of guys, but the injuries have been so light.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these guys, most of the time in your bullpen, you're shuttling guys in and out a lot more. And, these guys have pretty much stayed healthy for the most part. A handful had been on the injured list, but it's not to make an excuse, but, and you want your pitchers healthy, but they've all went into funk at the same time, which is never good. And it happens sometimes. And a break could do them good. Now, it'd be better if they could figure out how to get out of this starting today with the day game in Detroit before you head to Boston for 4.
Don't look
now, but you go to Boston and lose 3 or 4, and all of a sudden
you're going to be in 4th place is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have a chance, I guess, in the near future at some point to get Manuel Rodriguez back, and he was really, really good before he went on the IL. But he pitched in Durham the other night. He threw a scoreless inning, gave up 1 hit, and had a strikeout.
Yeah.
So
I would have liked to have seen Ian Seymour pitch instead of Uceda in the 7th today.
Yeah, Uceda just hasn't been Uceda, right? Like he just hasn't from the first day. And I don't know. It doesn't feel like velocity, pitch selection, certainly location, getting behind hitters more. He doesn't have. I mean, he's not the guy coming out there throwing 100 necessarily. So if he makes a mistake and it's over the middle of the plate, then these balls they're not missing. They've hit 9 home runs off of them. So that's this bullpen has been hurt by the long ball. I mean, really have. They're not. If they can just keep the ball in the park, their defense is going to give them a chance. But these guys are launching. It's almost like they know what's coming. To be honest with you, I see guys sitting back on pitches like I don't know. Maybe they need to look at the film a little bit closer or something. But it's not a good bullpen, and they're going through a slump. Look, as hot as they were, and we've talked about this, they were going to hit this skid. I mean, we talked to Mark Tompkin before this road trip. He goes, it looks, at some point here soon, they're going to go 3-8. Well, they've actually done worse than that. They've gone 2-7. But it's the bull. If I were Eric Neander and I looked at this team, I feel pretty good about my position players. I feel pretty good about my catching. There's not a lot of areas. I have depth now in the infield with Kim coming back. I mean, I think I'm going to get, even more starting pitching, right? If Shane McClanahan, who's started to throw, comes back. So to me, it's the bullpen. Unless you're going to take a starter, you may add to that bullpen if you took one of your starters and moved them down there because they have had a lot of innings, or McClanahan's going to take the spot in the rotation. So there's a possibility you could do that. But yeah, I think it's all. Find me an arm or two. Find me some guys that just have electric stuff. man. And I think you need that. I think you need another power arm, maybe like you have with Fairbanks, somebody come in there and just throw gas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just something's lacking, and they probably will try to address it, I think.
Well, Les sent us a mailbag question I thought was good
Mm-hmm.
here. He says, I've always believed Kevin Cash should have performed better in the playoffs. Don't
Mm-hmm.
forget Tony Dungy got fired after 3 straight playoffs.
Yeah, he did.
But now with moving stadiums, injuries, and the team for sale, is this the best first half of Kevin Cash's career? I think it might be.
You wouldn't get much of an argument from me. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at all the records, but yeah, I think anytime, look, this is a once in a century event, right? Where
We hope.
you hope, yeah. Well, so far it has been, but so far it's a once since '98 event. But not many teams through natural disaster. Now, the A's moved because they didn't want to be in Oakland anymore, and they're on their way to Las Vegas, and they needed an in between spot. But not within their own control. To have a team displaced, to go from the indoor, confines of Tropicana to a minor league park outdoors that belongs to the Yankees, and take that over and try to make it your own. I don't think I considered how difficult that might be for these guys. And it certainly was early in the beginning of the season when they lost 9 out of 11 at Steinbrenner, and frankly gave away their home field advantage early in the year when they were playing a lot of home games. But yeah, with everything considered, it might well be. I mean, look, a week ago he had these guys literally in first place. Week and a half or so, and so to have that kind of start, to have your top 3 outfielders start the season on the IL basically, and have 4 guys that weren't on the major league roster when the season began getting it done for you. Um, you know, the Chandler Simpsons and the Jake Mangums and those guys. Yeah, I think Kevin Cash held it together. I think he held it together when they were 9 and or lost 9 out of 11 at home. I think he held it together when they weren't hitting very well. And now he's got to find a way to get this bullpen turned around. But Cash and I've heard people. I find it unbelievable sometimes that people will go to the easiest, like most common denominator argument is, well, they just need better coaching. Well, what? No, the guy's a 2-time manager of the year. And believe me, he would love to have Aaron Boone's lineup to fill out every night, right? Anybody's except, and these guys are doing it the Rays way without going out and spending $300 million on players and the Juan Sotos of the world and such. So you have to bake that into the formula, and Cash is as steady as they come. So I think all things considered, yeah, I'd be willing to say that he's maybe done one of the best jobs of his career. I imagine that's how he feels about it, but he's a humble guy. You're never going to get him to judge to grade himself. But I don't know what else what he could have done more. They got into a tailspin. They had a tough time adjusting. Lost 7 out of 9 or whatever, 9 out of 11, whatever it was. He kept them in it. He kept them motivated. He didn't panic. Guys got hot. They got hot as an offense. They were bashing people there for a while. The starting pitching has been good. He hasn't made any cataclysmic moves to the bullpen that he probably regrets. I mean, I think he's managed and even and this might be a reflection of the pitchers themselves, but he's allowed pitchers to go deeper. I mean, how many times did we see Kevin Cash, even in the World Series, go get a guy when he was actually throwing the ball really, really well? Now these guys are going 6+ innings, with the exception of maybe Rasmussen, but, with his 3 arm surgeries. But I think Cash has done all Cash can do. I really do. They're running. They're being aggressive on the bases. They're running smart. They're working pitchers. They're making more contact than I've seen in the past. He's used the bunt more than he ever has in some games. So I don't know. What do you think, Steve? I don't know what else Kevin Cash can do short of grabbing a bat, and he wasn't a great hitter to begin with. But like, what else can he do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to go back through the starts and first halves. I mean, obviously there was a year they went 13 straight to start the season,
Yeah, right.
but they didn't even win the division that year.
No, they won 99 games though.
Right. Yeah. Um,
But again, like that year that you're talking about, they hit a hell of a lot of home runs.
Yep.
Right. And I haven't seen Kevin Cash go up there and swing a bat in a long time, nor do I want to. So, they were hot. Rosarena came off the World Baseball Classic. He was hot. Yandy Diaz was hot. Like, those guys were all feeding off each other. And you also had a second baseman that's stuck down in the Dominican, about to go. He's not going to prison, but was convicted. So Wander Franco was on that club, I believe. So it's a totally different situation. But yeah, that was a great start. Obviously, a club record, 13 wins to start the season.
but when you take into everything that went into this season, and then the start they got off to, particularly at home, like it's hard to argue that Kevin Cash shouldn't be considered for manager of the year.
I think he's right there. They were in first place in one of the toughest divisions in baseball week and a half ago. First place. They had caught the Yankees. And the Blue Jays, going into this evening as we do this podcast, had won 9 in a row. Well, the Blue Jays aren't going to win 20 in a row, I don't think. At some point, reality is going to strike them too. But credit them where credit is due. But they the Rays ran down the Yankees, and now they got to find a way to tread water until the All-Star break. You don't want to now go back the other way and let teams start to pass you up, and then you got to climb back over them in the second half. So this is a critical. I think these last 5 games or so, I think these are critical games for them. We had some news on the Lightning we'll get to here in just a minute as well. But first, get on down to Breitling Boutique. They're an International Plaza Mall. The Breitling Company has been making the best Swiss watches now for over 140 years. They've been at International Plaza Mall for 5+ years. And you have to check out this store. It's in the center of the mall, second floor. Go in there, enjoy the customer service. Look, they're used to dealing with professional athletes. You're likely to find a Buccaneer or a Lightning player, a Rays player in there, but they're going to treat you just like the celebrity that you are, and spend some time, have a drink, let them tell you about their products. For the men, it's the beautiful Chronomat watches, the Navitimers. For the women's, they have ladies' watches for your wife, your girlfriend. These are beautiful sports watches. They're durable, have an array of colored wristbands you can choose from. Absolutely stunning. It's a great place to be. If you want the best timepiece you're ever going to own, it's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. And if you're a sports fan, and if you're not, why are you listening to this podcast? The Breitling Company has done something with the NFL, celebrating their 104th year anniversary. 32 NFL teams, right? They have 32 team watches. These are Chronomat watches, beautiful, each individually designed to reflect that team, with the team colors on the face, the logo. They're spectacular. Go to TampaBay.com. You can see the Bucks team watch as well. Now, this is while supplies last, so you got to get there in a hurry. If there's any left, you can certainly have them, but make sure you're aware of that. It's the Breitling Boutique. They're at International Plaza Mall, and when you go, please let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. So the Lightning made a trade. Help me understand what they did here. Kind of swap first rounders in a sense?
Sort of. So the Lightning have traded Isaac Howard. If you remember, they drafted him 3 years ago as a first-round pick. He's been playing at two colleges last season at Michigan State. Won the Hobie Baker for the best player in college hockey. Was a thought that the Lightning would sign him and he would then start his pro career this year, or at the end of this season. Either the Lightning and Isaac Howard did not see eye to eye on either what his role was or where they wanted him to go. And so Isaac Howard essentially, it sounds like, refused to sign with the Lightning. And so therefore, Julian Breezeball now has a choice. You can either trade Isaac Howard or you can wait until next August. If he doesn't sign by then, he becomes a free agent and you get a second-round draft pick back. So at the NHL draft, many people thought that that's where Isaac Howard would be traded because a lot of trades happen right there. And maybe you get another pick for it, you get other players, etc. He was not traded then, so he's still part of the Lightning organization or a prospect of theirs. He's not signed. He did not come to development camp. And now the Lightning on Tuesday night traded him to Edmonton for Sam O'Reilly, who was a forward who was drafted in the late in the first round in last year's 2024 NHL draft. So essentially 2 late first-round draft picks swapped. Isaac Howard from, I believe, the 2022 draft. Sam O'Reilly from the 2024 draft. O'Reilly just skated in 62 games this year with the London Knights in the Ontario Hockey League. They won the Memorial Cup. He had 28 goals, 71 points, and a plus 56 rating, which is tremendous. He ranked 4th in goals, 3rd in points, 2nd in plus minus of all the team skaters. So he's a 6'1", 190-pound forward, right-handed shot. So
right-handed shot.
Not sure if the Lightning are going to sign him right away or what their plans are, but now you've got an asset or another player back for Isaac Howard. Similar type draft positions. Isaac Howard, I think it was mid-20s when he was drafted, I believe. Position-wise, this was a 32nd round pick in 2024, but both good players, and we'll see where they go. And the Edmonton Oilers have signed Isaac Howard to a 3-year entry-level deal, so he'll join them. Most likely, I'm assuming he'll be in Edmonton this fall.
It's really interesting. All these professional sports leagues have different rules with respect to their draft and everything. The way hockey does it almost confuses me. So you can draft me, but I can elect to go to, and this is true of baseball, but if you do this in baseball, I think they have a year to sign you.
Yes.
But you can be drafted in hockey and say, I want to go back to college. I want to go to Michigan State, or I want to go to Wisconsin, or whatever, Penn State. And essentially that doesn't end your relationship though with that hockey team necessarily.
You have their rights for 4 years.
4 years. So a guy can have an entire college career if he wants to, if he's signed out of juniors or drafted out of juniors. And sometimes, and this is interesting too, sometimes I think the NHL team may prefer they go to college for a year or two if they're 17, 18, 19 years old.
A few things on that. One is you're only allowed to have 50 players under contract.
Okay.
And generally you want to have 46, 47 because you want to have some room if somebody becomes available to sign or whatever. So sometimes you take a player, and the other part of this is they're 18 years old when you're drafting them. Most of these players aren't going to see the NHL for 3 or 4 years if they make it at all. So having guys that go to college and don't count towards that 50 contracts because you're not signing them.
There you go.
Your prospect, you have their rights, but they're being developed at college by a third party. It's kind of what college football is for the NFL almost.
True.
You don't have their rights.
That's the difference, that you keep their rights even if they go to college.
But the NFL doesn't allow you to draft someone until you're 3 years removed from high school. So you're not drafting 18-year-olds, you're drafting 21-year-olds.
Yeah, they're juniors in college.
Yeah, 21, 22, 23, whatever it is, whenever you decide to go out. Where in hockey, you're drafting at 18. And then you hold their rights if they go to college for 4 years. You can sign them at any time and then start their pro career and they leave college, but they could stay in college for 4 years. Isaac Howard was planning to stay for his 4th year this year because the Lightning didn't come to terms, but now he's going to go to Edmonton. So
that's what's interesting is that
Michigan State.
He's going to play college hockey, but he now belongs to another hockey team.
Yeah. Well, now he's not going to play for Michigan State. He signed.
Is not.
No, he signed a 3-year deal with Edmonton. He is now going to be either in Edmonton or their AHL team next.
So I'm assuming there was something. I mean, we're speculating here, but I'm assuming if that's the case, then the Lightning didn't plan on giving him the opportunity to make the big club, maybe, and the other team did.
Well,
or a faster path, maybe to the
who knows?
To the NHL?
I mean, if you're Isaac Howard, and this is spitballing.
Yeah.
If you're Isaac Howard and you look at the Lightning, and you want to play top 6 minutes, right? You don't want to play 3rd or 4th line.
Well, those 2 lines are pretty solid for the Lightning.
Are you going to replace Kucherov? Are you going to replace Hagel? Are you going to replace Gensel? Like, where are you going to fit up there?
Yeah.
And so maybe he just said, I want to go to a team where I got a better chance to play top line minutes quicker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was something you come to development camp every year. The coaches give you feedback on what they want you to work on and this and the other. Maybe he didn't like some of that. I mean, maybe he didn't like coaching the general manager. We don't know. Neither side has really said much.
Yeah.
Which is actually probably better in the long run. But he didn't want to play here. And what reports were is that there was only a handful of teams he would have considered signing with. which means it's harder to make a trade.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can't just trade anywhere, there was very specific teams Howard wanted to play for. Why, and who, we don't know. Obviously, Edmonton is one of them because he got traded and signed. So
yeah,
but where else he may have wanted to go, or was Edmonton the only team? Who knows? But that it does make it harder to trade when you're giving very few options, which I think
right.
Julian Breezeball would have been fine going till next year and waiting.
Is that a typical thing though, that the player gets to control? Like, does he have a no trade clause? Like, what? Why?
So
Why does he get to dictate where he goes?
There's been a handful of players. Well, you only get to dictate if you refuse to sign.
That's what I mean, though.
But then you don't become a free agent for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Isaac Howard, if he didn't sign with the Lightning, would have become a free agent next August.
Okay.
And at that point, the Lightning would then get a second-round pick as compensation for that because he didn't sign. But the player has the leverage because you don't have to sign.
Right.
And now with NIL, maybe it's a little easier not to sign because I'm sure Isaac Howard had a decent NIL package at Michigan State. Just won the Hobie Baker Award.
Yeah,
the
best player in college hockey. So, yeah, sure.
It probably was not a money issue. And maybe the Lightning said, "Hey, we want you to spend a little time in Syracuse too," and he said no. And Edmonton's willing to say, "You can stay at our club. We're not going to send you." I don't know the reasons. The player has the power because they don't have to sign, but then you can't play in the NHL or get an NHL contract until you become a free agent.
Start your
after
career.
4 years.
Yeah.
So
I got to believe that it was, something related to how soon he would be on the ice, for an NHL team, because that's what you're looking for is opportunity to start your career. And for whatever reason, he didn't feel he was getting the love from the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they made the deal, and hopefully it works out for both teams. And that's all you can do. You can't force these things. So,
well, that's what you hope is a win-win. I mean, that's ultimately what you want trades to be, is a win-win.
Right, sure.
Because otherwise, if you're always winning trades, teams don't, you're not trying
to deal with you. Yeah.
When you're doing a trade, you're not trying to screw the other team. Yeah, you're hoping to get more return of value of what you perceive the value of each player is than what you give up. Otherwise, you don't make the trade. And every team rates players differently and such. Mm-hmm. But you're not looking for the other team to crash and not do anything with the trade.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of GM you would be. I'd be the guy trying to make them crash. And not
I'm not saying if they crash.
I want to get over, man. I want to get over. I want to win the trade.
Yeah, well, but I want to make sure that I can make more trades that help my team and benefit my team. Then
it's funny, years ago when the Bucks were owned by Hugh Culverhouse and they were going through coaches every year and really didn't even have a GM per se, but they. If you go back and look at the history of trades and things like that, while I was just starting out covering them, this would have been in the early 90s, there were 3 teams that only seemed to deal with each other. It was the Bucks, the Cardinals, and the Bengals. And all 3 of those were some of the cheapest teams and owners in the NFL. I mean, Mike Browns still are in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Bidwell's were that in Arizona. And, of course, Hugh Culverhouse didn't spend squad douche in Tampa Bay. And it felt like the other teams were like, yeah, well, maybe these other teams take us, but we can take a deal and win the deal with the Bucks or the Cardinals. They felt comfortable in that neighborhood at the bottom of the barrel. But it's just it's just funny the way it works out. But yeah, trades. Look. You kind of hope that both teams look at it and they don't feel like you took them, because then they're not going to deal with you again, and you don't want that. Although I've questioned why anybody would ever deal with the Tampa Bay Rays, because they get over on everyone. It seems like.
Well, I mean, the Blake Snell trade didn't work out.
Yeah, true. That one did not. Yes,
the Willie Adames trade was a win-win for both sides. I mean, that was one where Milwaukee got a cornerstone shortstop.
Yeah.
A bat and a player, the personality
the Rays
they needed on the
Rasmussen
team. Rasmussen, and who was the reliever they got? Was it Fireisen they got in return as well?
Fireisen, yeah, he was the other one, yeah.
But Rasmussen's become their best pitcher right now.
It's interesting because, I mean, Willie was on the verge of becoming a really, really good player. He became a great player for a while after he got traded when he ended up in Milwaukee. But a lot of it, you remember how much trouble he was having with like hitting at the home park?
couldn't see the ball very well
because of the background, because of the batter's eye or something.
Nelson Cruz was another one that way for the Rays. He
Yeah.
had trouble seeing at the Trop.
Isn't that
when
crazy?
they traded for him.
But I think it was a real thing, or at least it was in his head, which made it a real thing. So as soon as he got out of here, he could hit in every ballpark. But that's actually, you feel good when everybody is happy, but it's rare. Someone's going to get more happy than others, but that's professional sports, man. That's all you can do.
Yep.
All right, good questions there. The Rays will try to salvage one game of the series with their afternoon contest in Detroit this afternoon. We'll see if they can do that, and then it's on to playing the Red Sox in Fenway Park, where they hit it wicked fast. So still got a little bit of work to do before they get to the All-Star break. Congratulations, Junior Caminero. You are headed with your two teammates, Brandon Lau, Jonathan Aranda, all headed to the All-Star game. That's a good reward for those three guys. Hey, thanks for listening. As always, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Check out the beautiful Chronomat watches, the Navitimers, watches for your wife, for your girlfriend. Also, the NFL anniversary watches, all 32 teams represented while supplies last. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.